Hello, this is Marc Blatstein, the physician who created and founded Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service. Going to share the screen now. And we're almost there. Okay. We're all familiar with Sam Bankman in the news, indicted on multiple counts of fraud regarding FTX, extradited back to the U.S. from the Bahamas. At the end of December, he entered a not guilty. Was freed on $250 billion and with an ankle bracelet. And he's facing 100 up to 115 years in federal prison, 50 to 115 years. But this is at the same time the Department of Justice is prioritizing investigations and prosecutions of corporate malfeasance, which is targeting the individual criminal within a corporation. So it seems like Samuel wants to go to trial. And if that's the case, what are the thoughts of his counsel on success? Because the feds have a 98% conviction rate. And it would appear from this non-attorney that they have an uphill climb. Because he's given a number of interviews which have not been very flattering for the defense. And the one I will reference is right here on this slide, where he just is quoted that I screwed up. Then he has his two lieutenants, Carolyn Ellison of Alameda and Gary Wang of FTX, where both of them have pled guilty and are cooperating with the Department of Justice. So that doesn't look good. Between March of 2020 and September of 2022, it's been reported that he borrowed $1.38 billion from Alameda. Also, together, his two lieutenants also borrowed close to that same amount, also from Alameda. So if we compare similar upper echelon executives, if you will, Bernie Madoff faced 150 years. He was in his 60s or 70s. Samuel's only in his 30s. He's facing 115, maybe 50. He still has a chance to see daylight. But he has some pretty serious choices. And he has to face facts. Forgetting everything else, this is his company. I had my practice. Unfortunately, I was charged with a felony. I'm responsible. I did wrong. I was convicted of a felony. And I was responsible. There's no doubt about it. This is his company. He's responsible, full stop. He's the boss, period. No excuses. And the sooner he can come to understand this and understand that the victims that he put the pain he's put his victims through, possibly there could be a plea deal. But at this point, from what I can read, we're looking at a huge train wreck in real time. And so if you're a stubborn, wealthy executive ex-billionaire who has maybe people that are enabling him around him, this defense team could go on for months to years, or could spend up to millions of dollars. And in the end, he could wind up where he is right now today, either going to trial and losing, or having his attorneys tell him, don't go to trial. The problem is that in the end, he's not where he started, he's worse off. Because he's out all of that money, plus now he has the prosecutors, they're going to be looking for payback, a much harsher sentence. And all this information is that much more exposed in the press and for the prosecutor. So now, if in fact this has all been drawn out, maybe he's gone through trial, or maybe he's gone just up to the edge where he spent the money and his attorney said, pull back, don't go. He still has to sit for the pre-sentence interview with the probation officer, who has now seen everything, spoken with the prosecutor, seen all of his interviews multiple times, read the statements of his two lieutenants who have pled guilty and turned state evidence. What's left for him to say? I did it. I didn't do it. I didn't mean to do it. No answer is a good answer, and he doesn't have a back door. The PO now is going to recommend a sentence to the judge. No surprises what's going to happen now. So when would a plea deal have been best? It would have been best at the very, very beginning, where he could have gone ahead and requested a plea deal with the prosecutor at the very beginning, and then started beginning to go to, pled guilty in front of the judge. That didn't happen. Maybe it did. I don't know. I hope it does. But what happens now is that we pulled back just before trial. So a well thought out narrative in his story would have been a great option, his only option, because he's a smart guy. It would be great if he's able to see daylight at some point again. He's only 30 years old. And it would be a waste for him to spend his remaining, next 50 years inside his 6 walls. That's crazy. So for someone who's that smart, I hope that everyone around him is not an enabler, because the stakeholders who are in front of him are watching for any and all signals. The stakeholders are going to be his attorneys. They want to get paid. Hopefully they see the writing on the wall and try and talk to him. The prosecutor, the judge, the probation officer. People on supervised release are also probation officers. All the staff people at the prisons. Everybody knows who this guy is. And so if he's going to write a narrative by pleading guilty right away, he has so much of a better chance, even through all of his interviews. The prosecutors are going to take advantage of the sentencing guidelines because they address one for one the crime. If he pleads guilty from the get-go, they're going to go for the crime and the charges. If they make him go through trial, they're going to go through every inch of those charges and then some. If he goes to trial, the judge is going to, and the defense is going to look to U.S. Code 3553, which looks at the person. The defense is going to look for 3553 at the person and try and pull out anything. Psychiatry, psychiatric. What caused him to continue to go to trial when it was a lose-lose proposition? The judge is going to, I don't know how receptive he'll be to that. On the other hand, if Mr. Blakeman goes and pleads guilty before a trial, he has a chance to see daylight and not waste the majority of his adult life inside of 6 walls, 4 walls, a floor, and a ceiling. His narrative is going to be his chance before the pre-sentence interview to change the narrative that the Department of Justice has laid out in the indictment, in the press, that everyone around the world has read. It's his story that he'll be able to write and rewrite dozens of times in the year or so he'll have to write his story from childhood to today. And when it is rewritten and distilled, he'll be able to express his remorse, understanding the victim's pain. And hopefully, at this point, he'll believe it and agree with the court as to the seriousness of what he did. And he'll be able to expand on it at this point. And what made him do it? Why did he continue on this path? He can't just play stupid executive. It's like in malpractice, you can't play dumb doctor defense. What in your life brought you to this moment? Why did you continue? What has this taught you? Did it bring up moments from your past? Was there a trigger that in looking back, that, an aha moment? Do you have a plan? Only explain to the judge if you have a plan. Is there something that you can do that maybe can do some good and begin to make some of the victims whole? But only bring this up if there is a plan. Don't bring it up if you don't have one. Is there something that you're thinking about, an actionable plan, if you're going to go to prison, that something that you can do to allow you to emerge successfully? If this is the case, working with us, something that we can put together with you. The first step back, as criminogenic pattern plans, there's a self-assessment that you can take, and there are programs that your case manager that can begin to have you take these programs, and you should be grateful for taking each one of them. And you can begin to write, if you will, your story or what you learned from each of these programs, and keep a log notebook with you. Write every day. You're a smart guy. Have friends begin to send you in a list of books that you can begin to generate about life skills, philosophy, psychology. They begin to learn more about yourself and begin to write brief book reports about authors, people who have had life experiences that have thrown them curveballs and gotten back up again, be it people who have been through the Holocaust. There are lots of leaders that have risen up from nothing, and you can learn from them, and they can be your mentors, and make little book reports out of it, so that if you're given a prison sentence, you'll be able to begin to create this reentry plan that will show incremental improvements over time, which will eventually change you. And you won't be spending all your time reading. You won't be spending all your time, outside doing sports. You won't be paying people to do your job for you. You will do your job. You will read. You will learn. Take the programs. Be grateful that you're not spending 100 years in prison or 50 years in prison. And even if you do, you still will be able to benefit from what you're learning. And this, as you write this in your narrative, will humanize you to the court. And as it gets included in the pre-sentence report, the judge will read it, and all of a sudden, to the judge, you will possibly make him change his mind on the sentence he has in plan for you. And when you go to sentencing, be prepared for what's called an allocution. That will be when the judge meets you for the first time, and you're not the horrible person that the press and everything that's been written about you paints a picture of you to be. If you're nervous, that's a better thing. That's good. Be sincere. By this point, you've taken full responsibility. You understand what it means. You understand and acknowledge there are victims. You understand how your actions have created and affected these victims who have lost lots of money. Some have lost their livelihoods. Yes, you were an executive and you were the owner of the company and you were a billionaire, but you're a human being. And if you've lost lots of these individuals' life savings, and you do have a plan while you're in prison to come out the other side a better person. And we've discussed that. And that is through journaling or documenting the different programs and books that you're reading and how they're benefiting you. You likely will have an astronomical amount of money that you will owe, but you will tell the judge and you will tell the Bureau of Prisons that for what you can, you will agree to a payment plan. They have a financial responsibility plan and you will participate like everyone else. And all of this will go to humanize you in front of the judge. And whether or not this changes the judge's sentence does not matter, because the stakeholders that I've reviewed with you earlier, the attorney, probation officers, prosecutors, all of the staff of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, your case managers, unit team, halfway house staff, supervisors, release, probation officers, all of these individuals will also be reading this. And so it will have a positive effect in that way. Now I will share with you what and a couple other of the articles I found online. The new share. And if I can find it, there we go. So the first one is when you went out and when Sam Bankman was set to enter the not guilty. And more important, this was come up on the 9th of January, where it was an analysis of Bankman-Fried fraud charges. Essentially, they're not going to charge him, I don't think, with fraud. This article says you may find it hard to argue the fraud charges against him because that's not what they're going to be charging him with. Let me go down here, and it came up right about here. Marc Hassan counsel at this law firm in Philadelphia, customers put money into the platform and the money was supposed to be used in a certain way. And according to the allegations in the indictment, it wasn't. And I think this is where they're going to get him. And so To end this, I can only hope that the people around Mr. Blankman help him and don't encourage him to go to trial, and help him see that it was his company. He may have made stupid mistakes, as he said, along the way. Still his company. People still suffered. And that his best end game, if he doesn't want to spend his adult life, or isn't, his best years of his adult life in prison, is to not spend all this money, millions of dollars, heading to trial, in my opinion, and to take the time, a lot of time, on thinking through a narrative. He spent the time at the non-guilty phase. Okay, he went in and pled not guilty. They may take a year to get to trial. I don't know how that part of the system works. They'll need every day of that to prepare, to not go to trial, but to draft a narrative that will be rewritten several dozen times and distilled until he has an honest narrative of himself that probably is very painful for him to sit and realize, but will be the truth. And as they say, will set him free. My phone is 240-888-7778. Website is Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service. I am open to being engaged if you feel that would be helpful. Otherwise, I'm open for any questions you may have. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this 3-slide series. I hope you have a healthy new year and a successful one. Stay safe.